Britain's competitive advantages in the run-up to the Industrial Revolution were several. I think they include geography. That's to do with access to power, water power, coal, ability to engage in maritime trade. Those are all pretty important. On the institutions side, Britain's got quite good institutions. It's an economy with the rule of law. The government more or less behaves itself and gradually starts actually even to facilitate economic growth. And then there'd been a long period of slow progress, slow industrial growth that generates skills in things like coal mining, in things like textiles, in things like the iron industry. And those are all things that can be built on when we move to the era of relatively rapid technological change. The effects of the Industrial Revolution on the standard of living depend, I think, whether you look at the short term or the long term. In the short term, the average Briton didn't gain very much. Income per person grew quite slowly. Wages grew more slowly even than income per person. So I think if we're talking about the first 1 or 2 generations, they didn't do very well. But it was the path to longer term economic growth. And as the 19th century wore on, the ability now to grow much more quickly, and in particular for output growth to exceed by some margin population growth, did mean that by the mid-19th century, everyone could be thought to be better off than their grandparents. The policy lessons today for the Industrial Revolution, I think, are firstly that the market economy is pretty powerful in generating economic growth. It needs government action that helps that process, facilitates it, rather than obstructs it. And broadly speaking, I think that's the kind of government Britain had in the later 18th and early 19th century. So the sorts of specific policies which were enacted included, for example, facilitating a large investment in transport infrastructure, included modernising eventually company law to permit joint stock companies, included a variety of supportive actions with regard to eventually liberalising international trade. So this was a takeoff, this was an industrial revolution based on private sector activity. This is not the government as a developmental state, but it is the government as a facilitator.